Right, it's 12:30, so we're gonna get going. I want to make sure that I use your time efficiently since you might be on your lunch hour. My name is Christine Zellers, and I'm Rutgers Cooperative Extension's Family and Community Health Sciences educator in Cape May County. And I'm going to be presenting to you today about the 8 dimensions of wellness, specifically occupational wellness. Just a brief overview before we get into the presentation about cooperative extension and our structure. For those that might not be familiar with us, we are a partnership between the County Board of Chosen Freeholders, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Right now, we have faculty or staff in 21 of our New Jersey counties, all 21 of them. And we're composed of 3 departments, which consist of agriculture and natural resources, 4-H youth development, and then my department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences, or we call ourselves FCHS. And what we do with FCHS is we provide outreach in New Jersey and really all over the world. We reach people from here in New Jersey, but we specify on topics related to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. And at the end of the presentation, as always, I will share with you an opportunity to find more resources that we have to offer that are available. And of course, Rutgers University is an equal opportunity employer and university. Okay, so I just wanted to go over the information for this specific series of classes that I'm doing as Lunch and Learns. We had 54 people register for today's class. And if you're interested in winning one of the Fitbits that we have available, we're gonna, we're really doing it to I want to try to gauge interest and see what people are learning from the 8 dimensions, find out what you're thinking about the curriculum. So there's a short survey that comes out after each of the classes. You're able to take the survey once for every class that you attend. And the survey will be emailed you after you attend the class. So after each class, the survey goes out and you can take it. And you, like I said, you can take it 10 times. I will give you a code word during the class that you enter, and every time it's a new code word, so you can enter that. So you can enter as many as 10 times. The more you enter, obviously, the more opportunity you're going to have to win a Fitbit. There's 15 Fitbits available. And for those people that don't attend, if you share the word with them, you're reducing your chances of winning a Fitbit. I'll just say that. But you're welcome to go ahead and take that survey when you come, when it comes to you at the end. And the last class is going to be in November. So like, again, I said 10 chances to enter, and there's going to be 15 Fitbits given away. So I'm going to let you know that Morgan Gifford from FCHS in Cape May County is behind the scenes here. She's letting you in and out. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat about technical things, and she'll try to answer them for you. Or she can even interrupt me if there's an issue with anything going on. So like I said, I'm Christine Zellers, and I am the educator in Cape May County for Rutgers Cooperative Extension's Family and Community Health Sciences. So today our objectives for occupational wellness is we're going to define occupational wellness. We're going to talk about what it means. We're going to recognize the importance of occupational wellness. And we're going to identify, obviously, just review those 8 dimensions of wellness. We're going to explore ways to achieve, maintain, or improve occupational wellness. And we're going to, hopefully by the end, understand how occupational wellness affects and is affected by the other dimensions of wellness, because you'll hear me say it a lot. They are all very interrelated. So at this time, Morgan's going to release a poll for us to, for you all to take, if you would be so kind to give us some information about yourself. I've also put up on a screen a QR code that you can scan on your phone. If you do the first 2 questions, that's awesome. You don't have to worry about the whole survey if you don't want to do it. But if you could at least do the first 2 questions, that would be wonderful. I'm required by the university to have you fill that questionnaire out, and they're happy the more I get. I will say at the bottom of the questionnaire, there's a slot where you can enter your email, and we do quarterly drawings for folks to win prizes from completing that for me. That's how much I want you to do it. So if you could do it, that would be awesome. All right, so let's get started into the heart of the conversation about occupational wellness. Currently, the wellness industry is a huge business. It's $4 trillion business, and people really have latched on to that idea of wellness. But I don't think a lot of people really know what it means. When I ask people, to write what they think it is, tell me what they think it is. A lot of times they'll say being physically well or being mentally well. But if you go in and you search the term wellness, a lot of times what pops up is advertisements for spas or yoga classes or people meditating, maybe even essential oils or something like that. But it's more than that, and it doesn't have to cost you anything. Wellness does not need to cost you anything. It can be some of those things, but we want to look at ways to contribute to our overall wellness that doesn't cost us anything, that's easy to do. And we're going to talk about some of them now in this conversation. So it doesn't have to be something that costs, it doesn't have to be something abstract. To understand wellness, it turns out that there is a way to do that, and that's based in research. And as you know, probably if you've been on one of our talks before at Rutgers Cooperative Extension, everything we do is steeped in research and evidence-based. We want to make sure we're providing you with information that is not just something that's somebody made up on social media, but rather has been rigorously tested and proven. So the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, has created a definition for wellness, and this definition includes a holistic approach, meaning it's not based upon one idea, but rather the functioning of several concepts that create balance. And really, that's what it's all about. Wellness is trying to strive for that balance within ourselves in all areas. It turns out that wellness actually can be defined, and I say that because I think that we all hear when we hear the term wellness, we're all like, oh, what does that mean? I first started thinking about it when I started here, because one of the parts of our definition for family and community health sciences is that we teach wellness, and I thought, well, what exactly is that? So if you've spent some money, or you've on your own wellness or heard about it's probably because it's such a big business. It's like I said, a huge business. And, finding that wellness, people are trying to achieve it. It's almost like that fountain of youth, but it doesn't have to be. The way that wellness has come to be defined, according to the model, and again, that research that was developed by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, it's actually a balance of 8 different components. And SAMHSA's definition envisions wellness not as the absence of disease, illness, and stress, but as the presence of a positive purpose in life, which includes satisfying work and play, joyful relationships, a healthy body and living environment, and happiness. So the 8 dimensions that SAMHSA has defined are social, emotional, physical, intellectual, environmental, occupational, which we're discussing today, spiritual, and financial. So if you look again into that definition, where we're talking about satisfying work and play, that fits under this occupational area. But also, you want to have within the occupational, as we'll discuss, you want to have joyful relationships, you want to have healthy body and mind, and a good living environment. So they all fit into this component in several ways too. And here's that definition. All right. So I'm going to put up now it has all the different components that I just mentioned, all 8 of them on there. And I just want to make a note that these are listed in alphabetical order. They're not in order of importance or priority. If you remember that first slide I had up with the 8 dimensions, it was cyclical. And that was because, we want to make sure that we are looking at things, they're evolving, they're, kind of playing off of each other. Just because occupational is at number 5 does not mean that it's less important than emotional or more important than spiritual. It's just where it falls in the alphabetical order. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out. The definition of occupational wellness, as you can see here, is a personal satisfaction and enrichment from one's work. And for those of you who might be on the call that are retired, that might mean volunteer work, or, just a sense of getting up in the day and having something planned, having something that, occupationally makes you feel well. And that's important, having that, desire to get out of bed if you're retired, and having that ability to do something that makes you occupationally well. So we'll talk a little bit about how, whether you're retired or you're currently in the workforce, that occupational wellness can apply. So you're going to hear me say this. If you've ever been on one of these calls before, you're going to hear me say it a couple times now, and I'm sure you've heard me say it before. Just like with any of the other areas of wellness, we want to try to achieve them, but doing so, you want to take small steps. I'm going to give you a couple different areas. There's 3 different areas of occupational wellness, and I'm going to break them down for you. But as you listen to the presentation, really think about where you might like to start to achieve occupational wellness if you don't feel quite well in that area. For instance, if you feel like you're working all the time, you're really stressed, you're not getting a good home life, or things aren't going well, you're not having a good work-life balance, then listen to the 3 things 3 areas I'm going to cover, and think about where you can work on occupational wellness, but think about it in terms of breaking it down into small steps. Just like with physical wellness, you can't do all the steps of physical wellness at once. So everything we do within the 8 dimensions of wellness, you want to make sure to do them in small steps, take your time, and prepare yourself for how you're going to map through getting well in this area. And if you feel really good about where you are with your occupational wellness, then awesome for you. That's great. See about how other dimensions of wellness could be impacted by your occupational wellness, or could be impacting your occupational wellness. So that, maybe the financial and the occupational are overlapping. How is that so? And are you feeling good in both areas if you feel good in occupational? So just think about how they line up and interact with those other 8 dimensions of wellness. Sorry, allergies are getting me. So SAMHSA has, like I said, 3 areas within the dimension of occupational wellness that I'm going to review in detail today. And once we've reviewed those areas, I'm going to give you some keys to, try to work on within them. The areas that are defined, the 3 areas are work relationships, balance, and accomplishment is the last. Is balance, and then accomplishment is the last one. And it's important to realize that they can be applied in the workplace as part of occupational dimension of wellness, or if you're retired, they can be applied as well with your interactions with other retirees, and volunteer work that you do, or just as part of everyday work, everyday life. So, if you're retired, a sense of accomplishment might look different than when you worked, but, it's important to know what that sense of accomplishment is. Maybe that's, you decided you wanted to build a garden outside, and that sense of accomplishment is completing certain steps during the day. That'll give you that feeling of occupational wellness and completion. So think about how that can apply to you in either situation. All right, so again, the 3 areas: work relationships, balance, and accomplishment. And I just want to mention that the drawing, the word to enter for the survey today is work. So when you go in and you take the survey, at the end, it's going to ask you for a code word, and the word is work. Okay, so here we're going to start out with the first one, which is work relationships. And we're going to talk about how we can improve and maintain our occupational wellness through work relationships. And much like the other dimensions of wellness, establishing values that align with your personal values at work are really going to help with your work relationships. So for instance, think about what those values might be. And I recently read a book, and they talked a lot about work values and what you prioritize at work, and they could be your values in general, but you want to come up with what they are. And for instance, if respect is one of your values, then think about how your work relationships overlap with your values, and you want to make sure that you're able to establish those, and how you're involved at work and you interact with others so that you have a good work-life balance. You want to make sure that those values that you hold outside of work are coming into your work life too, so that you're instilling them at work. If you're retired or volunteered, think about your goals that you have for each day and what you want to accomplish for that day, like I said, and have a value system. Just like we have a value system in the spiritual wellness, it's important to have one also within this work relationship one. So find work relationships that fit in those values. Don't align yourself with somebody that might not have the same values, and it's going to cause conflicts or it's going to put you in uncomfortable situations. Make sure that you carry those values over into those work relationships. Also, work relationships are really important communication wise. So you want to make sure that we're communicating well with others at work. If you're having a hard time communicating with somebody, maybe take a step back and see how you can communicate better to improve that relationship or foster that relationship. I mean, after all, in reality, we spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our family. So you want to make sure that those communication skills are good, not just at home, but at work also. And, again, to go back to the volunteering, if you're doing something outside of a work environment for occupational wellness, you want to make sure that it benefits you both personally and occupationally. And same with the work satisfaction. You want to make sure that you have some type of work satisfaction that you're feeling good about. So, examine what your personal satisfaction level is with your occupational wellness. If you're not getting a lot of satisfaction out of the work you do professionally, then maybe look at doing some volunteer work to help you out to get that satisfaction and balance that out so you can have better occupational wellness. So next up we have balance, improving and maintaining occupational wellness. The second component of that is balance. And you can see here that you want to make sure to schedule leisure time and time management are important too. So work-life balance, it's a big buzz phrase. I think that it got really hard, at least it did for me during COVID when I was working from home a lot. I was working from home. So I was getting up in the morning, going right to work, working all the way through the day, cooking dinner, and then working through a lot of the night. And that was not good work-life balance, but it was just unprecedented times, as we know. So to find balance in your work or your volunteerism, make sure you schedule some leisure time in there. It's great to be a go-getter. It's great to, work hard at the office and shine, but it's important to give yourself a break. And if you have to schedule in that leisure time, if you're not finding ways to get a break, you want to make sure that on your days off from work, you're using time, in a way that gives you some relaxation, so you have a release, or you might need to schedule days off to do that. It's also really important to manage your time when you are working, whether it's working or volunteering. Time's at a premium, personally and professionally. We are constantly on the go. I hear people say all the time, oh, there's not enough hours in the day. How many times have you said that to yourself, right? So because of that, it's important to remember that time management can help you to schedule your leisure time. That might make you be more productive. And it could help you by scheduling out what you're doing at work, really having a to-do list, schedule things out. I know when I come in every day, the night before I leave, when I leave at night, I schedule out what I'm going to do the next day, what has to get done. So I'm blocking off time frames to make that happen. And in a minute, we're going to talk to a little bit more about that and managing time better. But, again, I can't stress enough making sure we schedule that leisure time and have good time management under this balance area of occupational wellness. And then next we have accomplishment, is the third prong of this aspect of occupational wellness. So have you ever completed something and felt really proud that you did it, a little pat on the back, like, wow, I did that. That was awesome. I got it done. Having that sense of pride in what you do is important, really important for your occupational wellness. It gives you the opportunity to set goals. It gives you the opportunity to feel like you've done something productive. And knowing what you've done is wonderful. And that's going to create that sense of pride, and it's going to help with that occupational wellness overall. Additionally, having a sense of pride in your work, both professionally and as a volunteer, is going to make you want to keep doing great things. It's going to make you want to keep being productive because you were able to get the satisfaction out of that. Just like feeling a sense of accomplishment is important, so is realizing when you what you've done for that accomplishment. So it's important to have a sense of pride about your work, to fuel yourself up and feel good about moving on and doing it, coming in every day. It's what makes you get out of bed every morning, right? So you can keep going. And again, we're going to talk about some of those ways to do that in a few minutes. But so you want to make sure you have a sense of accomplishment and pride, and you want to recognize what you've done. Even if it's not being recognized on the grand scale of things, sometimes it's just, wow, I got everything on my to-do list done today. That sometimes can really create that sense of pride, and recognizing that will make you feel a little bit more energized. All right, so now that we have the 3 areas of occupational wellness, we've talked about them. Let's talk about some positive ways to implement these things in our lives so that we can achieve occupational wellness. Keys to better work relationships. When it comes to occupational wellness, it's not just about the relationships you have with coworkers, but also how that makes you feel personally. So occupational wellness is important to think about where you are in life and your career, and find a job that's appropriate for you at that specific time in your life. So for instance, pursuing a job that has a long commute could be difficult if you're going to school for a higher degree, or if you have young children at home, or taking care of a parent that needs your help or something like that, or a loved one. So you might want to consider what's best for your emotional and physical wellness before taking on something that could be really challenging to handle. Sometimes, unfortunately, I know I've had to do it in the past, and I was glad to do it, but I've had to put career options on the back burner so that I could take care of things personally. But that's really important when balancing our wellness, because it's not going to create that stress. Now, if you can find a way that you can balance that out, even though you have a lot on your plate, awesome. But think about that before considering something that might be a challenge career-wise. Also, when seeking out occupational wellness, look at your career options and be realistic. There's sites now where you can find job postings, and many employees post jobs on, employers and post jobs on their websites as well. But consider new employment or volunteers opportunities that will, utilize your skills and give you focus, but focus on the opportunity that's going to make you feel most successful and fulfilled. And if you're currently on Social Security, perhaps because you're retired or on Social Security disability, and you want to re-enter the workforce, just be sure to go to the Social Security website and make sure you use the calculator to know how much you can earn and not lose your benefits. That's if you're retired or on Social Security benefits. So if you decide you want to do something new, take on one of those new jobs, then you're going to want to check that out first. And then finally, be sure to communicate with others you work with about how they like to work. So an example of this, I talked about communications when we reviewed this point in the first slide. Some folks like to get a phone call instead of an email. So express the best way for coworkers to communicate with you, and in turn find out what they're most responsive to. And this is going to open, the lines of communication. It's going to create better workflow, and it's going to make better work relationships because the goals are set and clear. So for instance, I know here at the university, we have several ways of reaching people. You have email. Sometimes I text people, you pick up the phone and call, but there's some people that I work with that they only want to be contacted by Teams. So I have to get on that application to get a hold of them. So, if I'm not hearing back from them on an email, then I will hop on Teams and try to get them. So it's good to have that understanding of what the expectation is. I'm not just with, reaching out to people about email or something, but in the way they like to work. Because if you're finding that there's a disconnect that's making you kind of anxious at work or upset at work, maybe look at how other people work and how you work, and how you can find a way to come together on that so that you feel more balanced and well at work. It's important to develop relationships with superiors and your peers, as well as your subordinates, to positively discuss what's working and what needs to be improved. And again, realize that the best means of communication with this person so that you have the most productive outcomes. I know sometimes it's really hard to communicate things at work. People could get upset by the way things are communicated, but having an open line of discussion breaks down those walls, and it allows for more productivity all around. And if you find you're having that hard time communicating at work, or things are really uncomfortable, try to find a way to work on a solution, just like you would in your personal life, so that you can develop that relationship and things are a little bit more harmonious at work, so that you can achieve that work or occupational wellness. And that goes for volunteering too. If you're volunteering and you don't know what you don't have a clear-cut understanding of what's going on, then maybe talk to somebody so that you can be better understood and they can understand you better. Okay, work-life balance, like I said earlier, it's a great concept, but it's not so easy to accomplish. So just like any part of the wellness dimension, it can take those little small steps to be more successful in this area. And it's really worth the effort for feeling good all around. If when we're working all the time and we're not getting any of that play in, then it can have physical impacts on us, emotional impacts. So we do want to pay attention. When you consider a career, or when you're looking at the one you're currently in, consider things that you like to do and are talented at, so that it meets or exceeds your expectations for that area of volunteerism or work. Being happy and fulfilled in a career is really important. And when I remember back when my sons were picking, to go to college, I said, whatever you do, just pick a major that's something that you're going to want to get up and go to work and show up at your job every day. Don't pick something that you're going to dread doing. And that's why the first area of occupational wellness is so important. It's important to have good relationships with people at work, like I said. You do or do not want to, you want to make that getting out of bed every day rewarding. And so if you have good relationships, that's going to make that easier, as well as, doing what you love. And that doesn't mean that your job isn't challenging. You can still have challenges in your job, but you want to make sure that they're challenging in a comfortable way, that you can challenge yourself intellectually and learn and grow. But you also want to make sure that, it's not so challenging that you're, so stressed out. Additionally, if this is we're talking volunteer in your occupational wellness for you, then make sure you're doing what you love and getting the love back from those you're volunteering with. If it's a toxic relationship and you're volunteering, you're a volunteer. That's okay. You can move on and find something that's a little bit more enterprising for you or exciting for you. If you're not finding satisfaction in a work situation, then try to find a way to volunteer that makes you feel balanced, so you get that back, rewarded that way instead of at work. And if you're lucky enough to already be doing something you love, then make sure to take breaks, even though you have that leisure time, even though you're doing what you love. Too much of anything can be bad for us. So schedule that leisure time. If you're not using your vacation, you can give them to me. No, I'm just kidding. If you're not using your vacation time because you're too busy at work, then block off those weeks on your calendar as soon as the year starts, as soon as you get the vacation, so you're not filling it with other things, so you get that time off. I know if I found out the first year, if I didn't block the time off, then it wasn't going to happen because the calendar got filled. So try to take that time and block it off in your calendar so that you're using vacation time. Don't give it back. It's there for you. It's there for you to be well. So you need to make sure you take it. And if you're not getting it all in weeks, if it's too much to do it in weeks, then put it around long weekends or something like that, just so you're getting that time in. You want to build that leisure time into your calendar, just like you would for a meeting at work. And if you're needed at work, however, you are better, if it's better for you to pace yourself, then let them know at work, like, I need this break. I need this break. It's okay to take a break. Keep track of your workload versus your leisure time. If you're feeling like really unbalanced with it, and say, okay, look, obviously you're going to work more than you have leisure time, but keep track of that so that you have a knowledge and try to figure out how to break it down, and make it something that's a little bit more manageable. Let's see. And then finally, you want to make sure that you balance your time and your schedule at work. Being organized is a really good way to keep yourself balanced at work. And I'll be honest with you, you can see my desk in the background here. Before I let people in, I was cleaning it because it was a little messy. But if you can make your desk, I said I can't go on and talk to people about being clutter-free with this clutter on my desk, but if you can make your work area clutter-free, it's going to be part of environmental wellness for you, but it's also going to be part of occupational wellness because it's not so much stuff going on in the background. So having that organization at work, having clutter-free work areas is really important for you to be able to focus, stay organized, utilize your time well, and then in turn, hopefully be able to take some of that leisure time. You want to set reasonable goals to accomplish your work so you don't have too much work at once. I was just reading a book by Brene Brown, and she was saying she tends to take on too many things at once and not plan time appropriately. So she doesn't have good time concepts. So if you're overstretched all the time, then you might not have good time concepts about your work. So make sure to set that up so that you're, using your calendar, utilizing that, planning for what's ahead, and giving enough time for what projects are. And if you don't have enough time or you need assistance, ask for it. It's not a weakness to ask for help. If you need help at work, then you need to ask for that. Plan ahead for those bigger projects. So if the barriers jump up or arise as you're doing them, it's not impacting your work. And more importantly, it's not impacting your wellness physically or emotionally. So plan those bigger projects out so that you have good responsibility with them. And you're able to meet those expectations and able to stay well occupationally. And just like we need to plan our physical and emotional wellness and nurture that, you really need to do that at work too. So, tracking your work-life balance for how you're doing and checking in with yourself is just as important as you do for your emotional wellness too. All right. So last part, last prong here of your wellness for occupational wellness, sorry, your occupational wellness is, whether or not you're thrilled with your occupation or your work that you're doing, wellness, we have to work, that's the bottom line, but you want to make sure that you find something that brings you joy in your career or your volunteer work. If you find that things are not good, try to do some research and find out what would be a good fit for you in your occupation. Look for something that brings you more enjoyment. And again, if you can't find that occupation, it worked, and maybe try to find a way to do something that brings you enjoyment another way. One time I had a conversation with one of my doctors, and she said she was really tired of practicing medicine because she felt like she couldn't help patients anymore. And then when I went to make it was a doctor I saw annually. I went to make my appointment with her the next year. She was gone. So she left the medical field and she went into teaching. So obviously she probably took a hit financially to do that. But at the same time, she knew she was not happy practicing medicine the way she was doing it. And she wanted to do something to impact the field differently. And so she made that change. And that's not easy to do. Obviously you're going to want to really take a look at it before you do it. But if you're not feeling fulfilled, again, try to look at what's out there and what you can do differently, or do it in volunteerism, or do it in a hobby. Find a way, if you're feeling like you really want to do something that works with your hands, you're a great woodworker, for instance, then maybe do that on the weekends and have, a little business on the side doing that makes you feel fulfilled. There's ways when you put your mind to it to figure those things out. Find something that helps you feel complete and fulfills your personal goals. First, set the goals and where you want to go for occupational wellness. Do your research, and then, try to find that path that will be good for you. Make sure you think about those financial ramifications. We don't want to do something, we don't make a jump anywhere that could impact our financial wellness. But you might want to consider doing, maybe going back to school. A lot of people do that. And anymore, people used to, back in the day, my grandparents, they were in one occupation their entire life. Now people switch around, they shift gears a little bit. So there's always options out there. So you just need to look at what they are and, find a way to have occupational goals and wellness that meet your personal goals as well. So here we're going to have another opportunity to do that scan for me, and Morgan's going to release the last poll if you would be so kind to do the poll that she's putting up, and also to do the scan with your phone. Tell me what you think. All right. And then, as I mentioned, you know, we have, oh, it's on the wrong one. It's on financial. I never moved my gear here. Sorry about that. Y'all, I should have moved that up to occupational. But anyway, as I mentioned in the beginning, each wellness dimension can affect and be affected by the other dimension. And that can be both positively and negatively. So like I said, obviously occupational and financial wellness can go very close together. So we want to make sure that they're impacting each other positively, so that we have both as a wellness area. And to review the other dimensions that are impacted or can impact occupational wellness, think about, you know, how if you're doing an occupationally well, if you're occupationally well, then hopefully it'll impact that financial wellness. But think about how occupational wellness could maybe impact your social wellness. If you're working all the time, it's probably going to be really hard for you to have social wellness. It might even be hard for you to have physical wellness, because if you're in the office all the time and you're not getting physical activity and not taking care of yourself, not eating well and sleeping well, then that could impact your physical wellness and as well. So you see how they're all interbalanced. And, you know, being off in occupational wellness, you might feel really fulfilled in occupational wellness, and that might make you feel really intellectually fulfilled. But again, what does that social wellness look like? So think about how they interact with one another, and think about where you're feeling really balanced and where you might not feel as balanced, so that you can incorporate everything and feel much better overall. All right, and to review here at the end, occupational wellness involves work relationships, it involves balance, and it involves that sense of accomplishment. So having that sense of accomplishment from those other two is really important. As you've seen throughout the discussion today, within each of these areas, there are some reoccurring themes like fulfillment, enjoyment, and achievement. So, you know, when you accomplish something and you can pat yourself on the back and say, hey, I got that done at work, and you have that sense of accomplishment, it's going to bring you fulfillment and enjoyment. And within all these areas, being aware of where and how you're balancing your values is really important to being happy and getting what you need out of that occupational wellness. All right, one more time, just to remind you about entering for the Fitbits. You can enter when we send the survey out after this class. The link that's there, this is for next month's. We're going to do it June 6th, which is a Thursday. We'll be talking about emotional wellness. You can scan in there, or you could go to our Facebook or web page to register for the next class. And if you know, once you register and tune in, then you can fill out the survey. You'll get the survey from attending. And we do have 15 Fitbits to offer, so go ahead. The more you enter, the more chances you have to win. These are my resources. Oh, I didn't add my contact information. Sorry about that. I'll put that in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing because it's messing. All right, so if you need to contact me for anything, I'm putting my maybe. Does anybody have any questions while I put that in? There's my email addresses there, is that if anybody has any questions for me following the presentation. All right, I don't see any questions in the chat. So I'm gonna end out the presentation here, and we will follow up with you. You'll get an email from Morgan. Thank you, Morgan, for being behind the scenes. You get an email from Morgan, and you'll have the opportunity to take the quick survey to determine to be entered for the Fitbits. So I hope you'll all take a minute to do that. And I hope you are all occupationally well, and we'll see you June 6th for the emotional wellness. Thank you.